Hello and welcome to Toy and Stitches. In this tutorial, we're going to be making an earwarmer and cowl set. To make this set, I used Lion Brand Pound of Love. The color is called Terracotta, I believe, but I will leave details on the yarn in the description. Along with the yarn, I'm going to be using a 6mm hook. You will also need some scissors, a tapestry needle, and your tape measure. So grab your supplies and let's get started. To start off, we're going to be making a chain that is about 10 inches long. So I'm going to create a slip knot. I'm going to put that on my hook and I'm going to chain until my chain is 10 inches long. So go ahead and make your chain 10 inches long and I'll meet you when I have my completed chain. All right, so I have my completed chain and I have 32 chains. You want to make sure that you have an even number of chains in order to work the stitch pattern that we're going to use. So once your chain is complete, just count your chains and make sure you have an even number. All right, so now we're going to join our first chain to our last chain to create a ring. I like to do this by just laying my chain flat, use my finger to hold it in the middle, taking my first chain and bringing it around to meet my last chain here. Then I'm going to take my hook and insert my hook under the top 2 loops of that chain. So just like that. And then I'm going to grab my working end and I'm going to pull through both those loops and through the loop on my hook. And I'm just going to pull on my yarn there just to tighten up my slip stitch. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start working into my chains, but I want to make sure that I work into this very first chain here. So the chain that we joined our ring with, we want to make sure we work into that. So I'm going to yarn over and into this first chain. I'm only going under the back loop. I'm going to work a half double crochet. So just like that, under the back loop of that first chain, we make a half double crochet. And now into our next chain, we're going to work a slip stitch. So just insert into the next chain and work a slip stitch. And don't work your slip stitch too tightly. You want to make sure it's nice and loose because you're going to be working into it in the next round. Our next stitch is going to be a half double crochet. So into the next chain, we work a half double crochet. And into the next chain, a slip stitch. And that's what we're going to do all the way around. We're going to work a half double crochet and then a slip stitch. So half double crochet, slip stitch, half double crochet, slip stitch, all the way around. So go ahead and work a half double crochet in one stitch, a slip stitch in the next stitch, all the way around, and I'll meet you when I get to the end of the round. I'm just about to finish up my round here and I have 2 chains left. And you want to be sure that you're ending on a slip stitch because you started with a half double crochet and we're working across an even number of stitches. You should end with a slip stitch. So I have 2 chains left. I'm going to be working a half double crochet and then a slip stitch in my last chain. And now from this point, we're going to be working in continuous rounds. We're not going to be joining each round with a slip stitch. We're just going to keep working in a spiral. So this is the first stitch I worked. So now my last stitch was a slip stitch. My next stitch is going to be a half double crochet. And as you continue, you're going to be working half double crochet stitches into half double crochet stitches and slip stitches into slip stitches. So my next stitch is a half double crochet. So I'm just going to yarn over and just continue working in my next stitch, which is a half double crochet. We're now starting round 2 and the next stitch is a slip stitch. And when you're working into the slip stitch, you're going to work under both loops. So just insert your hook under both loops of that slip stitch and work another slip stitch and then half double crochet in the next stitch, slip stitch in the next stitch. And that's just how you're going to continue working all the way around. And you're just going to continue working in a spiral until your piece measures about 19 to 19.5 inches. That will fit an adult head. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to work a few rounds just so you can see how it starts to work up. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna work a couple of rounds and then I'll meet you back. All right, so far I've worked about 15 rounds and this is what your piece should start to look like. You should have a nice little tube here. Just continue working in your continuous spirals. I don't keep track of my rounds when I'm doing this. I just keep working until I get to where I want to be. So you don't have to worry about counting your rows or anything. So just continue working in your spiral until your piece measures about 19 to 19.5 inches, and then come back and we'll sew the top together to form our little twist and finish up our headband. All right, so my piece is finished. I have gotten to my 19.5 inches, I think is where I stopped. And I cut my yarn and I'm leaving a very long tail because that's what I'm going to use to sew the top together. So once you get to your 19 inches, then you just cut your yarn, leaving a long tail. And then we're going to just fold it in half like this, lay it on top of each other. We're going to grab our tapestry needle. And we're going to put our yarn on through our tapestry needle here. And then what we're going to do is, I don't even weave this in, I just tuck that in right there. And then you're going to place it together like this. Then you're going to pick it up and you're going to fold this end over top of this one. And then this end around the other side, just like that, until you have your nice little twist right here. So it's like a little yarn sandwich. So just fold it in nice and tight. And then you're going to grab your tapestry needle and you're going to come through the outer piece. You're going to make sure you're going under all your stitches. You're going to grab the section in the middle here. And then you're going to come through on the other side. And I'm just going to be using the whip stitch and going around and around, just closing up the top of our headband, making sure that I'm coming through all the sections of the top of the headband, just so it stays in place. Just like that. And I'm gonna go that way and then come back that way just to make sure it is nice and secure. So just go ahead and sew up your headband like this, and I'll meet you when I am finished sewing it together. All right, and once I'm done sewing, then I'm just going to go ahead and weave the tail in. Just gonna make a knot on the end there first, and then I'm just gonna weave it in. All right, and once you're done sewing and weaving in all the ends, then you're just gonna turn it inside out like so. And then we're done. Now to move on to our cowl, and the cowl is worked in exactly the same way as the ear warmer. We're just gonna start with a longer chain. And for the cowl, my chain is going to measure 24 inches. So just like when I started with my ear warmer, I'm just gonna put a slip knot on my hook and I'm going to chain until I have 24 inches. So go ahead and do that and I'll meet you when I have my chain complete. All right, I finished my chain and I have 76 chains. Just remember to make sure you have an even number of chains. And just like I did with my ear warmer, now we're going to form a ring by slip stitching our last chain to our first chain. So as I did before, I just like to lay it flat and then fold it in half just to be sure I'm not twisting it. And then I pick it up, I take my hook, insert under the top 2 loops of my first chain, grab my yarn and then make a slip knot, a slip stitch to tighten that up, and then I tighten up the slip stitch, and then I'm going to start working around. Now in our first stitch, just like we did before, we're going to work a half double crochet and then a slip stitch in the next stitch, and we're going to work just like that all the way around, half double crochet in one stitch, then a slip stitch in the next stitch, all the way around. So go ahead and do that and I'll meet you when I'm at the end of the round. All right, I'm at the end of my round. I'm just gonna work my last 2 stitches, just a half double crochet, then a slip stitch And now I'm going to start working in continuous rounds like we did for our ear warmer. I'm just going to go directly into this half double crochet here and work another half double crochet. I'm not going to join with a slip stitch. We're just going to continue to work in continuous rounds. So just like you did your ear warmer, continue to work your stitches, making sure that you're working half double crochet stitches into half double crochet stitches and slip stitches into slip stitches. So go ahead and continue doing that, and you're going to work your cowl until it is 10 inches high. So once your cowl is 10 inches high, then I'll meet you back and I'll show you how to finish off. All right, so once your cowl is 10 inches high and you're all done, all you're going to do is just make sure you finish off on a slip stitch. So I'm just going to work a slip stitch, and then I cut my yarn, and then I'm just going to pull it through. And tighten that up, and then all I have to do now is just weave in these two ends, and then we're all done. And there you go, we are all done. We now have a cute set of ear warmers and a cowl to keep our ears warm and our neck cozy as it starts to get cold. I do hope you liked this tutorial. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you for watching. Take care and bye for now.